The underworld has always been mysterious and powerful and makes the imagination of the world run wild. While crackdowns and changing techniques in law enforcement have brought down many mafia bosses, some remain active and thriving as shadowy puppeteers of their vast and illegal empires. Their stories about immense wealth and influence are fascinating, as well as chilling. The traditional mafia rackets of gambling and extortion have long since been abandoned by these people. They have welcomed the digital era, expanding their business internationally and employing modern technology to launder money. They've married old-school mob approaches to new criminal science and have been able to keep themselves at the top, despite the constant heat they are under from law enforcement from all corners of the world. Here, we look into the rich lives and operations of active mafia bosses in 2025. We will be finding out how these prominent crime bosses have succeeded in adapting themselves in this modern age of crime. Michael Mancuso. Michael Mancuso, also known as Mikey Nose, has become the embodiment of resilience in the American mob world. As the leader of the Bonanno crime family, one of New York's infamous five families, Mancuso has navigated the challenges of law enforcement scrutiny and inter-family rivalries to keep his organization thriving. His wife, Evelina, was shot dead by him in August 1984, and her body was then placed on a bench in front of Jacobi Hospital in the Bronx. After being found guilty of his wife's manslaughter, Mancuso was sentenced to 10 years in jail. In November 2004, after Basciano was imprisoned, he took over as acting boss. After serving time for the murder of fellow mobster Randolph Pizzolo, Mancuso reasserted his control upon release and revitalized the operations of the Bonanno family. In 2025, his territory is far from the ordinary racketeering business. Mancuso has allegedly turned towards cybercrime. He reportedly employs hackers to break into financial institutions to launder money and to carry out large-scale frauds. A perfect blend of old-school discipline and modern pragmatism characterizes Mancuso's leadership. He has maintained loyalty in his associates while keeping family activities under the radar of federal agencies. His estimated wealth runs into hundreds of millions, with investments in legitimate businesses such as real estate serving as a front for the family's illicit profits. Matthew Madonna. Matthew Madonna's rise from a street-savvy boy in 1930s New York to the acting boss of the Lucchese crime family is a story of mob legend. Beginning as a minor associate, the young Madonna rapidly rose through the underworld ranks because of his keen business mind and merciless ambition. By the 1960s, he was operating a heroin empire that raked in millions, cementing his place as a major player. Although the mafia looked down on drug dealing, Madonna's success was too profitable to overlook, and his ability to stay one step ahead of the law made him priceless to the Lucchese family. Fast forward to the 2000s, Madonna took the reins of the Lucchese family as acting boss, revitalizing their operations with a mix of old-school racketeering and modern hustles. But his rule wasn't without drama, entering the Bronx mob war. When Michael Meldish, a loose cannon in the family, became more trouble than he was worth, Madonna allegedly orchestrated his 2013 murder. This bold move was meant to restore order, but instead set off a chain reaction that brought the heat down on the family. Even from a prison cell, the reach of Madonna extends into the underworld. He is reported to maintain power over deals in the Lucchese crime family because of many years of associates, fans, and connections through their operations. Being able to command respect and have people do his bidding even in prison is rare for a crime boss. The man leaves his stamp on the ongoing crime saga while he sits within the walls of his sentence. Shigeharu Shirai. Former Japanese gang leader Shigeharu Shirai is notorious among Japan's organized crime syndicate, the Yakuza. 7 of his comrades were imprisoned for 12 to 17 years after he was wanted for allegedly killing the boss of a rival gang. Before being taken into custody in Thailand in 2018, Shirai had escaped capture for more than 14 years. Shirai married a local woman and led a reasonably low-key life in Thailand while he was trying to escape detection. He was known to get monetary presents from Japanese acquaintances who paid him visits 2 or 3 times a year despite his illicit actions. Shirai's wealth is tied to lucrative ventures in construction, gambling, and entertainment, which serve as a front for the Yakuza's drug and arms smuggling operations, although exact figures are not publicly available. His arrest marked the end of a long manhunt and highlighted the global reach of organized crime. His leadership style combines traditional Japanese honor codes with modern business acumen, ensuring the Yakuza's dominance in the underworld even in 2025. Eugene Onofrio. Eugene Rooster. Onofrio is not your average attention-hungry mafia boss. Rather, his subtle yet effective approach to organized crime has characterized his career in the Genovese crime family. His criminal career officially began when Onofrio was found guilty of participating in a bank heist and stealing from the Second National Bank of New Haven in the early 1970s. He was later convicted of manslaughter in connection with Jimmy Cotter's 1972 murder. A native of New York who had a talent for evading detection, Onofrio advanced through the ranks by becoming an expert in old-school rackets such as loan sharking, gambling, and extortion while adjusting to new opportunities that kept the family's operations profitable and secret. Onofrio's rise to power was brought to light in 2016 when he was indicted as part of a massive FBI crackdown on the Genovese family's East Coast operations. Prosecutors painted a vivid picture of Onofrio overseeing a sprawling criminal empire from New York to Florida that included everything from counterfeit goods to traditional mafia standbys. He was accused of operating a large multi-million-dollar enterprise. His style was less about flash and more about efficient, calculated leadership. He is a quiet powerhouse in a family known for its discipline and sophistication. Even to this day, it is still believed that Onofrio's influence is still going on. As with most seasoned mobsters, he created a legacy of loyalty and respect that transcends beyond himself. Whether in the court or on the streets, Eugene Onofrio serves as an example of how the mafia exert power without being in the spotlight. They live to thrive in the shadows. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. Nemesio Oseguera. Cervantes came into this world in July 1964 or 1966 in Culotitlan, a rural area in Aguililla, Mexico. At 19, the San Francisco police first caught him with stolen goods and a loaded gun. In 1989, cops in San Francisco nabbed El Mencho again for selling drugs. A few months later, he got kicked out of Mexico, but he snuck back into the U.S. and made San Francisco his home once more. Come September 1992, he landed in hot water again, this time facing federal drug charges in Sacramento, California. El Mencho, who heads the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, has turned it into one of the most brutal and influential drug gangs worldwide. He strengthened his role and expanded his group by taking over new areas and bribing government workers. The CJNG changed from a small, breakaway gang to become a top criminal force in Mexico. Along the way, El Mencho became one of the most sought-after lawbreakers in the country. In 2025, El Mencho's cartel dominated the methamphetamine trade, with operations extending to Europe and Asia. His ability to maintain control over CJNG's operations despite ongoing manhunts is a testament to his strategic brilliance. Kyle Morey, who leads the DEA team trying to find El Mencho, told Univision in an interview that he thought El Mencho had at least $500 million to his name and might even be worth over $1 billion. El Mencho's power reaches into politics where corrupt officials help shield him and make it easier for his cartel to operate. Nino Guerrero. Hector Guerrero Flores, also known as Niño Guerrero, has become a key player in the South American drug business. He runs his operations from Venezuela, taking advantage of the country's shaky political and financial situation to grow his criminal network. Guerrero spent a long time locked up in Tocaron prison, located in Venezuela's Aragua state. While there, he helped Tren de Aragua gain more power. The group started by demanding money from other inmates and paying off guards. They took charge of the whole Tocaron prison. They also got control of gold mines in Bolivar state, drug routes along the Caribbean coast, and some secret border crossings between Venezuela and Colombia. Niño Guerrero set up his base of luxury right inside Tocaron. He kicked things off by living in his own double-decker house where he could meet whomever he pleased. He had access to a swimming pool, baseball field, restaurants, and even a zoo. Evolving from a prison gang in Venezuela's Aragua region, Tren de Aragua stretched out to become a major criminal gang that crossed borders. Guerrero runs a gang that produces cocaine and deals in illegal weapons and human smuggling. Come 2024, his crew teamed up with other big-shot cartels, snagging control of main smuggling routes. With hundreds of millions stashed away, Guerrero keeps his riches safe in secret overseas accounts. Still outside the prison walls within the various neighborhoods of Maracay and Aragua, the gang continues to wield criminal governance and impose curfews, commits auto theft, and collects extortion money from merchants and local dwellers. Now, with an Interpol red notice and a $5 million reward being offered by the U.S. State Department for his capture in July 2024, he has become one of South America's most wanted criminals. Domenico Opedisano. Uncle Domingo, also known as Domenico Opedisano, is the elder statesman of the 'Ndrangheta, one of the most powerful and wealthy crime syndicates in the world. The 'Ndrangheta, which has its headquarters in Calabria, Italy, is in charge of a sizable chunk of the cocaine trade in Europe. From its stronghold in the mountain communities of Calabria, the toe of southern Italy, 'Ndrangheta maintained a low profile while gradually growing its operations. With activities across North America, South America, and Africa as of 2024, Opedisano's leadership has effectively established the organization's global presence. The syndicate's riches are almost tough to destroy because it is invested in financial markets, real estate, and construction. Even if it's hard to pinpoint, Opedisano's personal wealth is definitely in the billions. His ability to command respect and maintain order within the 'Ndrangheta ensures the organization's continued dominance. Semyon Mogilevich. Semyon Mogilevich is not just a mafia boss, he is a legend in the world of organized crime. He is often referred to as the brainy Don, who works at such a sophisticated level that he has gained the label of the world's most dangerous crime lord. His network spans Europe, the United States, and Asia, and covers everything from arms and drug trafficking to securities fraud and tax evasion. In 2024, Mogilevich's operations expanded into cybercrime, with his syndicates reportedly responsible for large-scale ransomware attacks and cryptocurrency heists. His ability to manipulate financial markets and launder billions has made him untouchable, despite being on the FBI's most wanted list for years. He was linked to activities like prostitution, drug trafficking, and arms dealing, and was accused of killing over 400 people. Mogilevich, who currently resides in Moscow, is regarded as the manager of the Russian mafia's bosses. According to reports, the felon has connections to both former US President Donald Trump and the current Russian president. His net worth is projected to reach approximately $10 billion. He is able to maintain his position as one of the wealthiest and most influential criminal lords in the world because of his ties to dishonest politicians and officials who guarantee that his empire will never be overrun. Little Robert D'Onofrio. Little Robert D'Onofrio, known as the Quiet Don, is the future of the Chicago outfit. He reinvigorated the syndicate by embracing modern technologies. He was a longtime soldier and had been aligned to the Orina faction when he joined, but later changed allegiance to the Persico faction during the Third War and rose to the administration of the family, eventually becoming acting boss after Russo's death, who was the boss of the Colombo family. In 2025, with his emphasis on cybercrime and online gambling, D'Onofrio repositioned the Chicago outfit back to its once again powerful entity. With his millions, he reinvests into solid businesses so the organization can survive. Domenico Cefalù. Dominic, born in Palermo, Sicily in 1947, is one of the most important men in organized crime after coming to the United States. Initially involved in heroin smuggling for the Gambino family, he was convicted in 1982, serving 6 years in prison. Yet even in jail, he was still affiliated with the Gambinos and was inducted in 1990 as a made man, running under the auspices of the Sicilian Zip crew in Queens and Brooklyn. In the 1990s, his refusal to testify in several high-profile trials resulted in contempt convictions and more prison time. By 2005, he had become an underboss to Jackie D'Amico, heading the Sicilian faction. In 2008, he was charged with racketeering and extortion related to the trucking industry, but received only 2 years after a plea. In 2011, he officially became the boss of the Gambino family, returning to a more traditional leadership structure. By 2025, Dominic is not only one of the most powerful mafia bosses, but also the richest. His decades-long involvement in the lucrative operations of drug trafficking, extortion, and controlling industries such as trucking and construction has amassed him a fortune. Dominic's control and ability to expand his financial empire ensures continued dominance and relevance in the underworld. Dawood Ibrahim. One of the most wanted men in the world, Dawood Ibrahim operates the D Company from his base in Pakistan. His empire spans from drug trafficking and arms smuggling to terrorism and terror financing. Dawood had masterminded the 1993 Mumbai bombing in India that killed over 257 people and injured 713. His whereabouts are still unknown, and reports say he joined Al-Qaeda. Dawood Ibrahim's net worth is estimated to be approximately $6.7 billion. The illegal trade of diamonds from South Africa is another of Dawood Ibrahim's flourishing businesses with an Indian connection. In 2025, Ibrahim's fortune is secure, guarded by a phalanx of loyalists and corrupt officials. His real estate and Bollywood interests ensure a steady flow of laundered money, and he ranks as one of the wealthiest crime lords in the world. With a $25 million reward for his capture and currently the third most wanted criminal in the world, Ibrahim now stands as the second richest criminal to have ever lived. Victor Bout. Victor Bout, nicknamed the Merchant of Death, is a notorious Russian arms dealer and politician. Being a manufacturer of weapons and previously a translator in the Soviet military, he utilized his multiple companies to smuggle arms from Eastern Europe into Africa and the Middle East during the 1990s and early 2000s. Despite the prison sentence against him and later being set free, reports have it that Bout has gone back to the arms trade. His notoriety was such that his life helped inspire a Hollywood film, 2005's Lord of War, starring Nicolas Cage as Yuri Orlov, an arms dealer loosely based on Bout. In 2025, Bout will capitalize on global conflicts, supplying weapons to war zones and rebel groups. His wealth, though diminished, is on the rise, fueled by his deep connections in the black market. Joe Low. Joe Low, otherwise known as the billion-dollar whale, is the individual who engineered the 1MDB scandal and remains a fugitive to this day, with sources suggesting that he is worth $150 million. 1MDB is a Malaysian state-owned and controlled fund created to pursue investment and development projects for the economic benefit of Malaysia and its people. Joe Low is alleged to be involved in the systematic embezzlement of $4.5 billion from Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund, 1MDB, which has made him infamous. Low reportedly lives a life of luxury in China in 2025, protected by powerful allies. The Malaysian police have submitted an Interpol red notice against him, but he has managed to travel freely. His money, which he stashed away in secret accounts and high-value assets, allowed him to keep living a life of luxury despite international manhunts. Joseph Di Napoli. Joseph Di Napoli may not be the flashiest of names in mafia lore, but his quiet rise to power inside the Lucchese crime family is nothing short of impressive. Born in 1935, he made his way through the New York underworld with a mix of cunning and business-like acumen. Di Napoli mastered traditional rackets like loan sharking and gambling, but really made waves with healthcare fraud, a modern, lucrative twist on organized crime. By the early 2000s, he had risen to the top, serving on the family's ruling panel and helping the Luccheses adapt to the times without losing their edge. Unlike the headlines-chasing mobsters, Di Napoli thrived in the shadows, running lucrative schemes while keeping law enforcement at arm's length. The nature of his leadership kept the Lucchese family strong, at a time when other families had started falling apart. But his luck ran out in 2017, when a sweeping indictment charged him with racketeering and other crimes, pulling back the curtain on decades of quiet dominance behind bars. Di Napoli is far from done. With a reputation for being methodical and commanding respect, he's said to keep in touch and still have influence over the family's operations. His legacy is a reminder that sometimes the most powerful players in the mob are the ones who work silently behind the scenes, proof that in the mafia, stealth is often the ultimate weapon. Fausto Isidro Meza Flores. Isidro Meza Flores, alias El Chapo Isidro, or Chapito Isidro, was born on June 19, 1982 in Mexico. Over the years, he has grown into a notorious name in the world of drug trafficking. Starting as a high-ranking leader in the powerful Beltran-Leyva cartel, he quickly rose to the top by forging strong alliances with other cartels and using bold, aggressive tactics. His Sinaloa, Mexico-based network controls huge operations producing, transporting, and smuggling heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, and marijuana, particularly into the United States. Members of his group are heavily armed, thus making them a force to be reckoned with in the drug world. Despite his notoriety, Meza Flores has constantly evaded capture. He was indicted in an American court in 2012 on charges of distributing hundreds of kilos of drugs and using firearms in furtherance of his crimes. The charges only mounted by 2019, but he always managed to evade law enforcement. Nowadays, he is pursued by agencies such as the FBI, DEA, and even the Mexican military. The U.S. government has announced a $5 million reward for information that could lead to his arrest. Though still hiding in Mexico, Isidro Meza Flores is one of the most wanted figures remaining in the narcotics trade. Sammy Gravano. Sammy Gravano, also known as The Bull, was born in a tough neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York, and became the feared underboss of the Gambino crime family. He quickly showed himself to be loyal and ruthless after being inducted into the Colombo family, and continued to thrive under Gambino bosses Carlo Gambino and Paul Castellano. He used intimidation and mob ties to dominate industries such as construction, and was instrumental in the rise to power of John Gotti after the assassination of Castellano. As Gotti's second-in-command, Gravano helped solidify the Gambino family's control, but cracks emerged when the FBI arrested them in the early 1990s. Betrayed by tapes of Gotti criticizing him and facing life in prison, Gravano made a shocking move and turned into an informant. His testimony dismantled the Gambino family and secured convictions for Gotti and others, but it made him a target of the mafia. Though his cooperation changed the course of mafia history, Gravano paid a heavy price. He lived as a pariah, always in fear. His is a story of loyalty turned betrayal, reshaping the world of organized crime forever. The richest mafia bosses of 2025 prove that organized crime has adapted to modern challenges. From exploiting technology to manipulating the global markets, these men have found ways to outsmart law enforcement and accumulate an incredible amount of wealth. Their stories are a blend of audacity and brutality that testifies the underworld continues to be as fascinating as ever. While the war between law enforcement and organized crime rages on, these figures show no signs of slowing down, and their mark will forever be etched in the history of the underworld. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Wealth Corner so you don't miss the next ones.